Susie, I have a crazy statement to make, but let me make it and then I want to hear your thoughts on it.
No, go
A
ahead.
little jealousy in a marriage is actually a good thing.
I don't mind I agree with that. I think as long as it's like a touch, right? Like it can't be too much because then you're going into, crazy territory, if you
Yeah,
ask
and I
me.
feel like that's been my past connection to it. Whenever there was jealousy in a past relationship I had, it was really negative, and then I always felt that that jealousy was a little bit like unnecessary. And I think the foundation of that was because when I was in college, I was living at school. My ex was in another city, so I think it always like that college boyfriend away that relationship was kind of based off distance, and that caused a lot of jealousy, and I just hated that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. When you're young and dumb, right? And like and then you throw in being in a relationship that's a long distance, like that's really hard, you know? I mean, I know like for Matt and I, the year that I was Miss USA, I was living in New York City, he was back in Massachusetts and I was meeting celebrities and I think I told did I ever tell you this the Derek Jeter story?
You said it on the first episode. The Derek
I
Jeter
did.
story is absolutely classic. And by the way, I think this is a great opportunity because there might be somebody just checking into this episode like right now.
Uh-huh.
Great chance to once again tell it again because it's one of the greatest stories I've ever heard.
Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, long story short, for because there'll be some folks that already heard it. He, Derek Jeter asked me out when I was Miss USA. He didn't know I was in a relationship. Obviously, he didn't know me. We were at an event and it was for like the Yankees. He was like the star player on the New York Yankees and I was living in New York City, so I was going to tons of events in New York. And I'm sitting at my table and next thing I know his like bodyguard or manager or something taps me on the shoulder and invites me over to his table along with I was with Miss Teen USA and our manager. And so we were like, "Yes, let's go and like hang out with Derek Jeter for the night." And he just started flirting, he invited me to a game, and I was like, "Well, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I can't go," I was, like, trying to be nice about turning him down, because I was in a committed relationship, and when I got home, I told Matt about it, I mean, I called Matt every night, and, I called him and I was laughing about it because I thought it was hysterical. He thought for him, it was devastating, and now I can see why. At the time, I was like, "But what do you mean? Like, it's not like I'm going on a date with him. I said no to him." And, he was still like, "Oh my gosh." Like how, for him, it was like, "How do I compete with Derek Jeter?" And
Yeah.
in my mind, there was 0 competition.
Which is
0.
good, but as the average person on the other end, I feel like our minds automatically go to that place, especially when they're famous. And I think like
Sure.
that feeling that he had, I would have felt the exact same way. And it's not even a thing of like, I would have thought that you would have done this, or I think my wife is going to go off and do something else. It's just like you put yourself in that situation and you automatically get this jealous feeling. But I don't think that's negative. That's necessarily a bad thing because I feel like when you have jealousy in a marriage or in a relationship, I think it's a reminder to us that we care, that we still have an attraction to somebody else, that you don't want that person to go away. So I think like there is a world where like jealousy is a reminder that we're still in love and it can be a good thing, but I don't really particularly think the most of the world sees it like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think well, let me ask you, when was the last time you felt jealous, or is that out of your system
Oh
at this
no.
point?
No, no,
No?
no. I will say for me, it's really weird things that make me jealous.
Yeah.
Here's the top one that no, there are two that I hate, that I despise and make
Still
me
to this
jealous
day.
consistently.
Wow.
Yes, there okay, so I will start that sorry, now there are 3 of them. I will start with the least one. The least so
Okay.
the sorry, now I'm in like a tangent.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like thinking about my wife's ex hookups. It's not the ex-boyfriends that bother me. It's where I know she had a little bit of a fling because
Oh.
that's not really like her to have that, and she's very conservative, very, like, shy and all this stuff. So when I think about her having flings and hookups, I'm like, "That's not what you do. That's out of character." So I get jealous thinking about that version of her, and that time frame came between when she had an ex-boyfriend and then when
No,
she started dating me, so there was the in between, like, the fun
Santi.
or
How many
whatever it
years
is.
has it been?
Since that time frame.
That was like over 25 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, but it still bothers me.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Okay,
So there's
okay,
that, and that's the least one that makes me jealous.
okay.
The top two that make me absolutely crazy is when other men call my wife Joe. And Joanne's my wife's name. Joe is her nickname. When I hear guys around town calling her that, it bothers me because that's like an intimate nickname that I have for her that it's only reserved for the people who are like really on the inside of her life. So when I have these random guys in town, there's one guy specifically, I'm like, you can't call it Joe. And I feel like you have ulterior things in your mind. And so that bothers me.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, fair enough.
And the number one, their number one thing that drives me absolutely crazy and it makes me super jealous is when my wife calls other men funny. Yeah, because
Oh,
she doesn't think that I'm funny, or she won't acknowledge that part of me, but other guys she thinks are funny. There's a one guy in town who I love too, and he is funny. But when she talks about him, I'm like, why don't you talk about me like that? Like, do you think I'm funny like that? And don't get
oh
me
my
wrong, the
gosh.
guy is hilarious, but I
Mhm.
want that type of attention. I know I sound crazy, but yes, those are the consistencies that make me jealous.
Okay, wow, they're so specific.
Yeah.
Um, I love that. I love that for this conversation that you're so specific with your moments of what makes you. I mean, but those are, they're legit. It's how you feel about them.
Yeah.
And man, but the third or the number one is I mean, do you see this person often? How often do you have to interact with this guy? This
Um,
hilarious guy that
our
you both
daughters
love?
our daughters are friends, so we definitely see him, like, 2 or 3 times a year, like, at a party. And he's a nice
Um,
guy, like, I like him, I like hanging out with
yeah,
him, but there's always like, "Oh, he's so funny." I'm like,
yeah,
"Ugh." So, listen, I acknowledge the fact that I know I sound crazy, especially with, like, the hookups from 25 years ago.
yeah.
I absolutely know, but that's pretty much where my jealousy ends just because, like, I don't feel like my wife puts herself in situations where there's more room to get jealous like that. I feel that I'm probably in more situations where there's a atmosphere of jealousy from a partner, but she also is really not the jealous person, which leads to a whole different thing where I wish she would be a little more jealous of certain things just because it like it'll give me the feeling like she still has that like feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. She probably
Yeah.
still has it. She just, I don't know. Maybe Joanne is just a little more
Mature?
mature than you.
Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
to call you immature,
No,
Santi. I'm
I no
not
no no.
calling you immature.
After hearing those 3, you can acknowledge the fact that I definitely am. That's quite all right.
Just
Now,
a little.
when was the last time you've been jealous?
Ah, I remember specifically. I will not name drop unless you absolutely want me to, because truthfully, I kind of don't care. But Matt was on set of a film many years ago, and a pretty big actress hit on him,
Oh,
and he told me about it, and he just told me about their interaction, and I was like, "This bitch was hitting on you." I'm like, "Do I need to come to set tomorrow and just like show my presence as a wife right now?"
was it the because the name that it was, or was it the fact? Because could it have been like anybody and it would have bothered you the same, or was it the fact that it was a well-known
No,
actress?
no, no. If it was anyone, if
Uh-huh.
it was anybody, it would have bothered me for
How well
sure.
known is this person?
She's pretty well known,
And
especially to Bostonians.
okay. And what was it specifically about what she said that got you jealous?
I mean, it's funny. It was for the first time. I guess I understood more what Matt felt like during that Derek Jeter
Oh.
stuff, right? Because it was like similar. Derek Jeter, huge guy, like huge famous dude, and this is a famous woman, and it was like similar in that regard where you kind of feel like there's a little bit because they're famous and rich,
Mhm.
right? You're like, "Ooh, well, I'm not famous and rich," and I don't know, you just start having these feelings of, jealousy for sure. And not that I ever it never leads for me. It obviously it's never led to like distrust, right? Matt had to go to work with her, right, for the rest of the shoot. It's not like I didn't trust him or, you know what I'm saying, or thought something was gonna happen. It's just the fact that I knew she was gonna be around him and, like, how far would she would she take it?
Yeah.
Like, how I don't know, and it never went beyond, like, what to me was flirty conversation, and, like, I don't know.
Being an actress, and I've
Mhm,
always wondered this, never really had the opportunity to ask somebody this.
mhm.
When you're doing a love scene or a kissing scene, is that talked about before you do it with your husband?
Yeah, yeah,
And
we
what's that
always
conversation?
he hates it. Every time, and I'm always like, "Babe, there's, like, a million people on set, as you know, you've been on set, like, on the other side, right, working in as a producer or director or just a writer who's on set, like, because he writes films too, and I'm like, it's, like, the least sexiest thing on the planet, like, they're watching you, it seems intimate to us, to the viewer, but it's, like, not it's not in like, the intimate scenes are not intimate at
Yeah.
all, and I've never done a sex scene, but, I mean, the first thing I booked, I had to kiss a person, a guy, and, Matt was like, "This is crazy," like, he's like, "It's like cheating," and I'm like, "It's not cheating," but he's like, "You're cheating on me." I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm
Yeah,
like you know
like
what I'm saying?
yeah, like, yes.
You get it as a man.
If you were to do that at a bar, that's cheating. But because it's work, it's technically not, but it is a weird area of life because
Mhm.
you're literally kissing somebody else, but it's
Yeah.
legal.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 and he hated it though. It was like it was funny because I mean, I laughed at him, but he was like, "I can't." He's like, "I can't kiss you. I think it's gross. You just kiss someone, you're getting home." It's like, "I can't kiss you right now." Like, I think a week went by before he could kiss me, like, before he felt comfortable, and it was wild, like, how, that I wonder what other I feel like unless you're dating another actor, and you won't understand, right? Like, if
Yeah.
it's 2 actors in a relationship, then they get it. But I will say that I think, by the 3rd role that I had where I had to kiss someone, he was okay with it. Like, it wasn't a discussion really. I let
Yeah.
him know that I'm like, "Look, this is what's going on." Like,
How many times do you have to kiss a person when you're doing a scene?
it depends. It depends on the director, like how many times you do it,
Well, what's the
the
minimum?
scene. There's no minimum. Some people are like, some directors, if they like your first take, they move, "Well, okay, great, let's move on." Like, and then we move on to the next scene or whatever. But if something goes wrong, lighting, it may not even be the actor's faults. Like sometimes you do a second, they always do a take for safety, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty standard. So usually at least twice, Santi. But
Oh,
and if something
Santa.
happens, the director wants to try something different, whether it's with the actors or blocking, whatever, it's you do it again until they feel good about it.
I'm putting myself in the situation. That's why I keep asking all these questions. Like, I want to know more. Like, if
Mhm.
I would be asking like everything, I would just want to know like everything. Like, did you like it? Like, I feel like were you turned on? Like, these are the things that I want to know because for a guy, not saying it's hard, and I know for a guy it's work, but I don't know what it's
Mhm.
like to kiss somebody for work. All I can tell you is that, listen, when I used to make out with girls in bars, it was awesome. I used to love it. It was so much fun. So it's hard for me to disassociate that connection.
Right, right. Well, if somebody was telling you how to do it, and how to I mean, now back in those days when I had those jobs, those particular jobs, it was oh gosh, what do they call these folks? They're like they're like sex choreographers,
Yeah.
intimacy
Yes.
coordinators.
Yes.
That's what they're called, intimacy coordinators. But I guess the intimacy coordinators are more for like sex scenes, like straight up like intimate scenes. Which like I said, I've never been in one. I just have had to like kiss other actors in scenes. But like, I don't know. Like I've always played like the wife or you know what I'm saying? Or like something like that. And you gotta kiss the husband to make it
Yeah.
real, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's weird, I'm thinking of one particular indie film that I did where me and the actor were, who played my husband, obviously, like, he was in a relationship and now married to the girl, his girlfriend at the time. I was already married, so it's very much work. Like, it is not the making out with the stranger at the bar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It is not like the spring break.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. Like where no, like like you might be kissing someone and out of nowhere the director's like cut, yells cut and then you stop.
Yeah.
And you get powder, makeup comes in, lighting comes in, like they do their thing and they either give you notes on how to do it or how to do it differently and then you do it again or you move on, so it's not.
It sounds and feels like work when you explain it to that, but I guess if I'm
Yeah.
new to everything and I hear that, I'm like, "Oh, you gotta go kiss somebody at work," and it would be hard for me to let it go and start making jokes about it. I mean, obviously, it would get
Mhm.
old for me, but at the same time, in the beginning, it'd be a constant reminder that that happened, so
Yeah. Yeah, it is
yeah.
weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to admit that. Um, but what do you tell Joanne, like, when you're jealous?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys talk about it?
Yeah, and I primarily do it just because of like I talk about everything with her. I communicate everything. And then the jealousy thing, yeah, because I feel like there's humor in that part, but then
Mm,
also I want her to know that I still care cuz going back to this theory that I have that a little bit of jealousy is actually good. My frustration comes from the other end of things because she doesn't communicate it with me as much as I think she should. Because it's also like a weird reminder of where these lines are. And I feel like as you go into a marriage, the longer you are, not that lines get blurred, but like you kind of maybe probably forget of like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go talk to, maybe I shouldn't even be as flirty as, no, see, that's probably a bad example. Cause I don't know about flirting, but flirting sometimes, see, I'm making myself sound a little bit guilty here. In my personality, I am flirty at baseline, right?
uh-huh.
But I know that that's where the line is. Sometimes when you have jealousy and jealousy conversations, it's a reminder like, hey, you can be your flirty self and all that stuff, but that's where that needs to stop. Right. And
Yeah.
then so when I have conversations with my wife, I think they're positive to that end, but I also want to know from her, like, she still has that little bit of jealousy and she still kind of gets that emotion, but then it reminds me that she still has that thing for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting you say that because, I think, you both of us being in the entertainment industry and being
Yeah.
hosts for, like, our entire careers, we have outgoing personalities, right?
Yes.
We're extroverts, and so I mean, geez, I went to HomeGoods last night to buy a Dutch oven, and I talked to a stranger, a lady, for like 30 minutes. And then I was finally like, oh my gosh, I gotta get home. Like, what am I doing just having this random conversation with this lady? And but that's who I am. Like
Yeah.
Matt wants me to get better at like Irish goodbyes, for example,
Yeah.
at parties. He will give me a 1 hour heads up when he's ready to go. He's like, start saying goodbye because it takes you forever and it's really annoying, And I get it. I get it. Um, I love people. I love talking to people, I have the gift of gab. I got in trouble, detentions up the wazoo when I was in high school and middle school because I talked all the time. And if we are at a bar, I mean, even and a stranger comes up to me, like if we're in a group and like a guy comes up to me and starts talking to me, I'm not gonna be rude and just be like, sorry, I have a husband, and the dude's gonna be like,
Mhm.
okay, I didn't ask you out or anything. Like, chill out, lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind
Yeah.
of seems a little presumptuous. And Matt always says, and tell me what you think as, a fellow man. He always says, he's like, if a guy is chatting you up, he's like, he wants something and he's flirting with you. Like, he is moving on to eventually ask for your number. And I don't know. I'm like, but if I'm talking to him and that's not my intention. But he's like, guys don't think that way though. Guys aren't like that.
So he's not wrong in most cases, but at the same time, I look at me, if I'm chatting up a person, that doesn't mean I want to sleep with them. It just means that I'm outgoing. And
Right.
sometimes, not even that I'm flirty, but I'm just like, I like to make jokes with people. And sometimes people see that as flirty. But he does have a point that guys do that more often than females. And guys sometimes are finagle, and especially when it comes to maybe a hookup and maybe a hookup, without their
Mm,
partner knowing, especially if they feel like they can get away with it. If the opportunity is there, there are a lot of guys that I feel will take it.
okay.
Um,
Interesting.
now
This is reminding me of one of my favorite rom-coms is When Harry Met Sally.
mhm,
Harry tells Sally in the beginning of the movie when they're in the car that men can never be friends with women. because they always want to sleep with them.
See, I probably would have agreed with that in my 20s. Now in my 40s, I think that's I am on the opposite side of that. I can be friends with females now, and I'm not trying to sleep with anybody. Yeah, because like,
Okay.
but it's because I
Fair
am
enough.
so happy in my marriage and in my relationship, and also so comfortable with where I am at life. And I don't know if that's just me, but that's where how I feel. So no, and I have female friends that I'm really super close with, to the point where like
Mhm.
we can be in a car all day. We can go away together for, like, for work, and there's no like there's boundaries there. There's nothing odd there, and
Yeah,
my wife is completely fine with that.
right. So
But
it's an
that's
age
also,
thing,
it
age,
could be an age
maturity
thing,
that it
and to that
changes.
point, I do feel like that has come with 25 years of marriage,
Sure.
or 20.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
and then also in that in in the I mean, okay, it's a movie, so it's fake, but in the movie, they're college aged. So they're
yeah.
very, they're very young. So,
Yeah, and I think at that age, maybe you act upon some feelings that are, it's act first, think second. I feel like when you're in your 40s, at least for me, I think
yeah,
first and act after that. So,
right.
um, you
Good
know,
point.
to we hold on. We talk about flirting here, but I do also want to go back to it just for 1 second, because I have I don't want to say put myself in situations. I've been in situations where my outgoingness has been taken as flirting. That flirting has now counteracted a situation where this one specific person wants to take the next step. And here's a great example. I spoke at a school years back, and I knew the teacher just through the radio station. And I was being funny with her. I was joking with her like after class about something. At the end of the second class that I was speaking at, she was like, "Hey, I'm done here. Do you want to go, go out for coffee and just go take a walk?" But the way that she said it, I knew that she had interpreted what I was doing as me wanting to hook up with her. And I got this panic feeling. I'm like, "Whoa, no, 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 no. That's not what I was trying to do." But I didn't communicate that to her because I feel like I was too young at the time. I just
Yeah.
kind of was like, "Hey, I can't right now. I have to go do this." And then I just like ghosted her from this
Yeah.
like platonic relationship that we kind of had. But I think now I'm more conscious of all that stuff. So when I'm communicating in situations like that, I try to like not kind of be too funny with people, because I don't want them to get the wrong idea. And then we're in this awkward situation where I have to have oh, no, 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 I just gonna go home, or that's really not what I meant. So
Right. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So you have to like hold back your person at like who you are, like your personality so that
Yeah.
it doesn't turn into that potentially.
Especially if I start reading the room a certain way, yes.
Yeah.
Because again, 45 years old, I don't want to put myself in an awkward situation where like something gets read the wrong way, and then next thing you know, I'm known as the town flirt or anything like that. So yeah.
The New
Yeah.
Hampshire flirt.
Yeah, the New Hampshire flirt was the last thing that I want to be. So, but again, even situations like that, I don't really tell my wife stuff like that, just because like again, I don't want to have this jealous feeling based off something that really wasn't even there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it is I know for me, I mean, I'm also maybe we both are a little bit like it sounds like you're similar. Like I'm just a little naive too, like when if I meet a guy somewhere, and I mean, my husband could be right there too. Like if we're in a group, and we're just out grabbing drinks or something and at a bar and I like to me it's just someone being nice, like I don't take it as they're flirting with me.
Yeah.
And then later Matt'll be like, "That guy was flirting with you." I'm like, "No, he was just a super nice dude." You know? Like,
Does
it
he
just
does he ever actually use the word, "Hey, that guy was flirting. It made me jealous."
no, no, but isn't that kind of implied? Maybe not. Maybe
Maybe
not.
not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I feel like the minute you start bringing up the word jealous or use jealousy in a conversation, you're a little bit more vulnerable that you had this feeling. And I think for guys, it's a lot tougher to say that. And I feel like the
Mhm.
guy move consistently would be the fact to try to bring the other person down, like, "Oh, he wasn't that funny," or "That guy was flirting with you, but he looked like an idiot," or
Yeah.
something like that. Where if you can read into that, maybe there is jealousy in there, but the vulnerability part hasn't really kind of come out yet.
Right. No, that's true. That's
But I don't
true.
know.
I don't know. Sometimes I guess maybe I just accuse him of being like, "Oh, you're just jealous," even though he didn't say it, you know? I just kind
Yeah.
of, like I said, I like assume, but I shouldn't do that because it doesn't mean that he's necessarily jealous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for a man, how like where do you think that line is crossed? Like when does it turn from it being like a jokey,
Yeah.
cute
Okay.
thing to then jealousy bad, right?
For
Like there's
me,
jealousy good and there's jealousy bad.
jealousy bad, that line gets crossed when there's some sort of physical contact where, like, say they're being flirty and this and that, and then he's putting his hand on her hip or hand on her back. That's when that line is crossed. Or when you start communicating the fact of like, I want this. Here's a story about that.
Mm.
We used to live in another town, and there was a guy that we had a family friend that had a pool, so my wife would go there with the kids like every day in the summer and bring the kids there. This guy started showing up who lived down the street. His name was Greg. Greg used to come and bring the kids when my wife was there. So you mark like every single time he would see my wife's car there, he would pull up with the kids and he would just hang out, right? That was fine for me. Where he crossed the line was where when he asked her to go away for the weekend. That's when I'm like, whoa, what are we talking about?
Like with the kids?
That was unclear.
Or
That
oh
was
gosh.
unclear. But regardless, I was not invited. It wasn't, hey, you and your husband should come away for like the weekend. It was, we should go away together. Maybe the kids were invited, but even
Yeah.
so, a really inappropriate situation there. So
Yes.
after that, I actually talked about the story on another podcast that I used to do. The story got out to her family and it caused this huge thing within the family. And like lions were divided because this one family was like, no, that's just the way that he is. I'm like, you can't defend that. And I
Right.
said, how would anybody else feel if I asked like another mom to go away for the weekend? Wouldn't that be crossing the line? And everybody was like, absolutely. I go, so why is Greg getting a break?
Because Greg's a nice
Greg was
guy.
not a nice guy. Greg was a creep who crossed the line and was relentless. I hate Greg. And I actually saw him in a wedding 2 years ago and I gave him the coldest shoulder. I'm like, that's
Oh.
this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's I agree with you. I'm joking, but I agree. That is crossing a very, very clear
So
line in the sand.
for me,
100%.
it's when like things start getting communicated, like, oh, or
Yeah.
you even start talking about like their looks. Oh my God, you look so good in those pants, or whatever it is like that. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it's clear as day that they're trying to elevate it to the next thing. So for me as a guy, that's where the line is crossed. So what
Oh.
about you as a female?
Oh my gosh, I'm over here going, "Tell me more, Santi." What are the other because again, I will admit that I am naive when it comes to men flirting with me, and I don't know, it's like unless somebody asks me for my number,
Mhm.
where it's very clear to me, I'm like, he's just a nice guy and he's just saying hello. He's friendly like I am, and yeah, so I'm just like, but the Greg story is very obvious. That was
I
very
hate Greg.
obvious.
I hate
You
Greg.
I I hate Greg for you
Thank you.
as well.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question though real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
Um, what did Joanne say? What did she do
I
when
don't know specifically what she said in response to him. She made it clear that she was not going to go, but my wife is also not really great in those situations. And I mean that in the sense of like she gets pretty awkward and she
Mm,
starts turning red.
yeah.
But she made it clear that she was not going to go. And I think after that, I think because I had been telling her this too, like, hey, Greg's weird. He shows up every time you're there. You don't think that's a little odd? It's like, I don't know. He just brings the kids to the pool. But after that, she got the clear sense that Greg
Yes.
wanted to go away with her to his lake house and seduce her. So I'm like, yeah. So to go back and I feel like I even asked if I were to ask her now, she wouldn't remember. But I remember the feeling of like, yeah, she made it clear as day that like that's not what she's gonna do. But the
Right.
ball's on him to ask that too. And
Yeah.
I know some people out there may be, well, your wife must have been given some signs. I'm like, no, my wife is the most unflirty, person like that you'll ever meet. So I don't know. I think Greg just took some liberties and he was rolling the dice.
Right, right, right. He was
Or at
rolling
least
the
I
dice,
hope.
testing the waters,
Yeah. Yeah.
testing his lake waters.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I still remember that one, and, yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I forget about other stories like that, but that was the one where I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just, for me, like I have so much trust
Yeah,
in that, that it's I think that when you build a really strong foundation, your best friends, you excellent communicators, right? I feel like communication is like probably the top thing any relationship, and especially a marriage. Um when you have that foundation built so strongly, it's like these things can happen, right? These moments where somebody's flirting with your significant other will happen, and it's not going to be detrimental to your
yeah,
relationship because you know what you both stand for, you know where you are in your relationship, and it might be like for Matt and I feel like it's a jokey thing, like he knew, like, when I had to kiss other actors on set, he knew that that I wasn't gonna go run off with them,
yeah,
you know? Um, but it's still weird,
yeah,
and when like I said, when dudes flirt with me and I don't get it, and then I come home and I'll tell Matt about it innocently because 'cause I'll think it's funny or something, like the Derek Jeter story.
yeah.
He's like, "Are you serious, Suze?" Like, he's like, you didn't know?" Like, "No, I just thought it was friendly."
Have you had any exes in the past that were really jealous that it caused, like, issues in your relationship?
No, no, I never I feel well, Matt was only my 2nd boyfriend.
Mm.
Um, so it yeah, I don't know, I guess the the type of guy that is the bad jealousy
Definitely.
type, um, I've just never been attracted to that, and I know
Yeah,
sometimes you don't necessarily see that right away, right? That might be something a character flaw that reveals itself later on in a relationship, but, it wasn't anything that I ever really had to deal with.
oh, good.
Yeah,
That's really
thankfully.
good. Well,
Thankfully, because that's tough. That's
it
such a
is
tough
tough.
thing.
It is tough. I dealt with that when I was in college, like, early on, and, it made a lot of that time frame, like, not fun for me. I would feel like I was too worried about what she was thinking and what she was dealing with versus enjoying my time at school. But one positive that came from that is when that relationship was over, I realized that I never wanted to go back to a situation like that again. So subconsciously or even consciously, I started looking for people who weren't like this. So it was almost like a learning experience, like for me to not
Right.
date anything like that again. So even moving on, if like my wife and I were ever to get divorced, I couldn't deal with somebody who was jealous. I can handle the communication of jealousy and the conversation, and hopefully like we can have a conversation that like satisfies that like anger or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
I couldn't deal with just the off the cuff, the angry jealousy and like fights based off that. Like I would never be able to handle that just because of like now I've been in a marriage for 20 years that has never been built or experienced crazy jealousy like that. Just the ha stuff.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, 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 that's good. I'm glad I feel like we
Yeah.
both have that positive, aspect in our marriage. Um, gosh, I wonder, this is where I wish we had some, like an expert on or
Mm.
something right now, and it could be a future of another future, episode, but, I just wonder what some signs are,
No.
for younger folks that are in relationships, I mean, I know I've had friends that, they're in relationships where maybe, the man begins to be a little controlling, like
Mm.
starts talking about like not really liking so and so, or when you hang out with this person or that person, and then I just wonder at what point does it go, because it's stuff that happens gradually,
Yeah.
it doesn't go from lovey-dovey to the extreme, right?
Yep.
When relationships finally end, it doesn't there's like an escalation that happens. And I just wonder like what some red flags are.
You know, one that I think back is that I used to hear, and I feel like I've heard this around too. It's when, and obviously my perspective is the guy. So
Uh-huh.
when there's a partner or a girlfriend, a wife who's like, "Oh, I don't want you going out with on a guy's trip because all you guys are going to do is just hook up with girls and this and that." I feel like that might
Um,
come off as sarcasm in the beginning in a joke, but it's always a sign that I feel like kind of points the picture down the road of what you might deal with. So I would say if you're a husband that hears that, try to mitigate that as much as possible, and because clearly there's an insecurity there and there's a concern there. Try to level that off in the beginning and start communicating about that like then, because even thinking back, not that that was ever said to me, but I would have laughed that off or even made a joke about it or even shrugged that off if I was like 26 and freshly married or even like a fiance at that time. Like bachelor party for
right.
the best example. Like,
Yeah.
listen, we've all known guys doing stuff on bachelor parties. Fine. Like, no, not fine, but like it's not always like that. And
Mhm.
if that's the pressure that you're getting from the beginning, then maybe start having that conversation then and make her feel like, hey, I'm not going to go out there and start hooking up with other girls just because it's my bachelor party, and make it very clear of what you guys are going to do. And let's just say you go to a strip club, then have that conversation with her. Like, hey, we're going to go to a strip club. It's just a fun guy thing. Well, I'm not going to do anything. And, and just communicate that.
Right.
I don't like strip clubs, just for the record. I don't like when strippers sit on my lap and they ruin my clothes. I just want to make that very clear.
I've never been to a strip club. I know a lot of women have gone and
Yeah,
they
they're
have
all
fun,
right.
you
They're all
know?
right. I don't know.
I don't know if Matt's ever been to one. That's crazy.
And for the
We've been
record,
married for as long we've just never chatted about that.
and if he won, would you be okay?
Now?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
I've been to them.
That's
She's
not gonna
been
happen.
fine with it. But to your point, I don't know how she would feel like right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's also like a I don't know, a younger
Yeah.
guys do
Oh,
which
no,
is
no, no.
not
Wait, wait,
true.
wait.
It's not true. There's
That's
probably a
not
lot of old creeps that are there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But to your point, there
Mm,
is a camaraderie that maybe you have when you're younger and you go there. Yeah.
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 Maybe because it's a new thing to experience, right? Like, when you turn 21 and, your friends
Yeah.
take you to a bar, right? It's like you go to a strip club
Yeah.
as a guy.
I
I
don't
don't know.
like them at all. And it's a little awkward too. Like
Mhm.
you're looking, you can't really look, and then it's like you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's just weird. And I also think that, like, I think if you're in a committed relationship, you shouldn't put yourself that in situations like that, right? Like
Mm,
in situations where not that you're going to do anything, but just the temptation of things,
the
right?
temptation, yes.
Like
Yeah.
why put yourself in that situation to begin with, you know?
But you're
I think
so true. That word is key. Temptation. Yes.
Mhm.
How many like if you can avoid temptation as an adult, the older you get, the better your marriage is going to definitely be. And listen,
Cute.
open conversation about temptation. A lot of people don't like
Mhm.
to have them, but temptation is always going to be out there.
Mm.
But avoid that as much as possible. Your life will be much, much better.
Yes, absolutely. Question, how do
Go.
you feel sometimes people have like, not that you're checking your wife's phone or, Matt doesn't check my phone, but we have the PIN number to each other's phones. Like it's not a big deal. And I know there are some folks who like just keep things very private and separate. Do you think that that can lead to jealousy?
Keeping things separately.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like it gives the feeling like there's something to hide.
right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now,
Mhm.
there was a time where I would never have given my wife the password to my phone, and let me explain because I know what people are going to think. Because there's always conversations that I have with people that can be taken the wrong way out of context. And sometimes the shit that me and my friends write back to each other are kind of crazy. So I
Uh-huh.
would want to avoid her seeing stuff like that back in the
Okay.
day. Now I don't really care because all my insecurities, my vulnerabilities, my crazy thoughts that I have, the stuff that I laugh at that's maybe crossing the line, she already knows. So I'm completely fine with her going in my phone. She knows the password to everything, and that's okay. I don't ever check her phone. Sometimes, like, she'll like, "Hey, can you go on my phone and get this?" I will get that. But what I do consistently is I do check her location just because it's easier, and I feel like I
Yes.
can look on in the app and say, "Oh, she's here right now." And sometimes I'm like, "What is she doing there?" But I don't really ever ask her. I'm like, "Oh, that's
Mhm.
weird. She's there right now,
Mhm.
randomly at the middle of the day. Where is she going?" But I'm like, "All right, that's she must have something to do." But
Yeah.
that's as far as I go with like checking statuses or checking up on her.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's another good one. I am like Matt and I share each other, like our locations with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I share with my sisters, my in-laws. I mean, we travel a lot too, so I always like for safety reasons, I just want people to know like where,
Yeah.
my loved ones know where I am. But I just never shut it off.
Yeah.
I leave it on for them, for, specific people. But I do agree that it does seem like you have something to hide. Like if
Yeah.
you're don't share that
What about your DMs? Would he have access to that?
on like social media.
Yeah.
No, not on social media. Although I would have access to it on his Facebook because I don't have a Facebook account. So
Uh-huh.
like I was selling some things on Marketplace via his Facebook account. So I have, the app on my phone, but it's logged into his account for
Yeah.
that. But he doesn't like he doesn't even use his Facebook account. He has it but doesn't use it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so I technically have access to it. Um but we don't ever yeah,
Good.
it's not a thing. It's not a thing. What about
It's
you
not
guys?
no, I mean, if she wants to look at my DMs, the weird messages that people send me, that's completely fine, but there's
Ah,
nothing in there that I would have to hide at all. She can look at
yeah,
anything. I mean,
yeah.
she might have some questions, but I'll explain her everything. By question, I mean, there's a lot of weird people that listen to our radio station and they send me the
Yeah.
craziness like every single day. So
I'm sure you have some weirdos.
I got to imagine you have it worse than I do.
I used to get a lot of jail mail, which was concerning.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I didn't understand how like they would send it to like my manager's office or something, and I'd pop by and like pick up my mail that would arrive at their office, and it doesn't happen anymore, thankfully. I don't know, thankfully or not thankfully.
I
Sometimes it
think it's
was weird,
I think
but
it's thankfully because these guys are in for life and you know.
I don't know. I obviously had no idea who the person was.
Yeah.
What's funny? I never Googled them to see like
Oh,
what are you in jail for? I
you sh-
never did that.
you should have because you would find out some crazy things because we get
Oh
jail
my
mail
goodness.
at work and oh my god, when you start googling like the crimes, it's all over the place.
Oh my goodness.
Everything.
I never checked, but it was
Yeah.
always men, of course. It was never women that would send me a letter. Yeah, and sometimes they would, it was like I don't know if your jail mail is like this, like they'll put like an index card in there and they want you to sign it, like an
Oh.
autograph. They want you to autograph like it's like they keep a
No.
I don't know. I imagine that they hit up a bunch of folks that they like or whatever, whether they're celebrities or just, public figures and they collect their signatures. Um, Sometimes they would send me photos. Like, I did a couple of like men's magazines like back in the day and how these folks, I don't know how they got a hold of them because it would be like years later. So I don't know. I don't know if they got it on eBay or what. I have no idea, but they would send it to me and they'd want me to sign it and send it back.
They would
I never
send you back to so they were looking to hang that in their cell.
I missed that
Yeah.
opportunity. I never responded because I never wanted to I never wanted to confirm that that
Yeah.
was the correct address to reach me at or whatever.
You're in cell
So
225 in San Quentin.
OMG. Well, listen, y'all, I think this was a great conversation, Santi. I think it's
Mhm.
something that isn't talked about enough. And I think it's, if we're talking about like having excellent communication in your marriage,
Yeah.
this is something to talk about too. It's another aspect. Jealousy is something that, we all have in us to some degree, and it's important to if you feel like it's you're in a relationship where the jealousy is like being taken too far, like do your research and see if that is a red flag, right? And if you have a therapist, talk to your therapist about it, or marriage counselor, whatever, depending on your relationship. But I'm so glad we had this
Yeah.
conversation. And of course, if you all who are listening, watching, have questions for us, please DM us. Send us your questions via DM on our socials. We're at Spouseology Pod everywhere: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Find us, follow us, yeah, and send us your questions. And also, Santi just let me know that we can have some live convos in here. So if you're interested in that, definitely let us know in the DMs, and we'll schedule it. We'll have you on our show live.
Perfect.
Yeah. See you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
I killed the ending there, but bye, guys.